now then, Nadia Nash, and I'll be with you throughout this weekend, bringing you the final round of the 2019-2020 Asian Le Mans Series set here in Buriram, Thailand. Now, last round was full of unexpected surprises. Of course, Thunderhead Carlin Racing Car number 45 came out on top despite the race start delay and following the downpour and lightning, but they come out number one for the last round in Sepang. And with one race left to run, all eyes are set on what's to happen here today and tomorrow, and the racing frenzy starts right here, right now in qualifying. 3 sessions are scheduled, 15 minutes each. GT cars are going out first, followed by LMP3 and then LMP2 and LMP2M cars. And of course, for now, joining us on the show is our series commentator, Graham Goodwin, who can shed a bit of light on the race this weekend. Graham, nice to see you. And a great weekend is upon us, of course. Championship battle is looming. Tell us more about that.
Well, there are 3 championships still up for grabs, the overall championship and, of course, for LMP2. LMP3 still wide open and GT absolutely wide open with all 6 cars in the field still able to win the championship. And LMP3, by the way, including this fabulous beast behind us. But not only those championship positions as well, but also, of course, 3 more invitations to the Le Mans 24 Hours for our class winners here this weekend.
Fantastic. And since it's so intense, the championship is just, you know, we can smell it, we can taste it already. Every single point will count. That's why qualifying session is not a small undertaking today.
No, not at all. The points gaps in all the classes are pretty tiny. 1 point either way, or even if one of the cars not in contention, 13 of our 23 cars can win a championship. One has already won one. But if one of the others that isn't in contention takes a point off, then that's just as big a deal. So lots of excitement to come over the next, hour and a half or so. Keep with us, because this is going to be a cracker.
Fantastic. You said all the right things about, we want to know, we're in Buriram, Thailand. How's the weather looking like? I mean, because we know what happened in Sepang, and Mother Nature can be really unexpected. But today it's hot and windy. How's that going to affect the drivers and the cars?
It's really, really hot. Shouldn't be too much of a challenge for single lap qualifying. But tomorrow, if we get these kind of conditions, well over 30 degrees of heat, then over 4 hours we could start to see, particularly some of our gentleman drivers, begin to struggle as we get into the stints. Remember, so the older cars here, the LMP3 cars, the LMP2M cars, last time we're going to see this generation of cars ever in contemporary competition do not have integrated cooling air conditioning systems. So in 32 degrees or more of heat, they might struggle. Let's wait and see how that one pans out.
Wow, it's going to be tough. But yes, qualifying session is about to start in just a few minutes. We are looking forward to that. So stay tuned for all the action.
The beautiful sights of Thailand, one of the favorite regular destinations of the Asian Le Mans family, and this time, of course, slightly different this year because it is the grand finale. My name is Jeevan Selvanathan. Joining me in the commentary box very soon will be Graham Goodwin. But as Nadia and Graham just pointed out, what a fantastic weekend ahead of us, not just for the race tomorrow, of course, for the 4 hours of Buriram that will close out the season, but also because the championships standings in all 4 of the classes, LMP2, LMP2AM, LMP3 and GT, are all so close that 1 point that is available and for taking at qualifying could really change the outlook for a lot of those drivers and teams. We're, of course, as they pointed out, going to have 3 qualifying sessions. That's what most of this season has seen, this new format of qualifying. GT is going to be coming up first, then LMP3, and then a combined 15 minutes for LMP2 and LMP2AM. Graham is back in the studio with me now. Graham, you were just talking about some of these permutations that could play out this weekend, and a lot of them do rely on qualifying because of that 1 point.
They absolutely do, and they will play out in this final race of the 2019-2020 season. It's been very tight throughout, and all that happened at Sepang, not all that happened, one of the major things that happened at Sepang is it threw some of those battles wide open. We saw some surprising underperformance, if you like, from some of the championship contenders, particularly in GT, and that's left, as I said to Nadia a few moments ago, all 6 of our contenders on the grid for tomorrow's race can still, at least mathematically, win that title. So a point either way is going to make a difference, whether or not that is between a winning car overall in the race tomorrow or second place, or even when we get down to things like 3rd and 4th places. So that point, or the lack of that point, could be the difference.
Yeah, well, we of course will be breaking down the permutations as they come through, and there are going to be a lot of swings back and forth tomorrow. When you're talking about strategy for some of these teams, when you have such a tight race, how do you approach this weekend? I
think what you've got to do is come into it in a measured way. You've got to be absolutely aware of what the job in hand is. If you have to win, you have to win. If you can afford to run a more conservative pace, then that's going to be built into the strategy that you give each of the members of the team, and particularly when you're in a pro-am format, which we are, the pro's got a job, the am's got a job.
Right.
The am will be given, the am drivers will be given a pace to keep to, and will be expected to do that. And that's a mighty task, particularly when you've got 30 degrees plus of heat in what is effectively a mobile grandstand. We were down with the Ace 1 Valour Corsa team down in the pits. Nadia is down there now with their hot shoe from the year, Alessandra Bressan.
Yeah, since we were already in their garage, so we just grabbed one of the drivers. Of course, Alessandro Bressan is nice enough to do a little chat with us. LMP3 qualifying is the session up next. And of course, you guys are still in contention for that championship, you know, if you count the numbers and all that. So how are you guys feeling?
We're feeling pretty excited. We're still in the battle. And, I mean, what can we do? We're just going to give our best and go for it.
Yeah. Now, we came from Sepang with the weather and all that. How do you think the weather in Buriram now is looking for you guys?
So far, it's been great. I hope it holds like this for the race as well. We don't have any surprises. We'll be ready for everything, but we like the drive, we like the weather so far, so it's good.
Okay, let's talk about qualifying session today. You are not getting in the car, and who is, and what's the strategy?
So this time, David Fumanelli is going in the car. For us, we just try to shuffle the cars a little bit around, but as in the last round, we saw that the qualifying is not as important because in Sepang we started 1 lap down and we were in contention for the podium. So we're just going to try something different, managing the tires and just focusing. We've been focusing on race pace so far, so we try to go for it tomorrow.
Fantastic. So all eyes on the big race day tomorrow. All the best to you and to the team. Back to studio.
Thanks for that, Nadia. Alessandro Bressan there from Ace 1 Valour Corsa. Now, I know that you've, Graham, have put them in the LMP3 class of winning, but it is an outside mathematical chance for them, right?
It is, but we have seen some remarkable turnarounds in the past in the Asian Le Mans Series and across the endurance racing family. And this place, and here we are looking at the 4.554 kilometre Buriram circuit, it sort of looks simple, but it seduces the teams into situations where almost anything can and does happen. It has been a bit of a car breaker in the past. We've seen that in some of the support races here this weekend, that long back straight, from turn 1 through 2 and into that double apex right-hander rather, which is turn 3. Big opportunity for overtaking on a braking, another opportunity for overtaking on the exit there if anybody gets it wrong under pressure. Then you get into a really quick turn 4 where you can make a mistake there and it's a big mistake. 5, 6, 7, we've seen some big incidents there too. 8, 9 and 10, you've got to keep it neat and tidy to launch yourself down towards the end of the lap. And turn 12, pit entry just on the apex of turn 12, that's again where you can be set up for a big overtaking move into turns 1 and 2. It is going to be 4 hours of absolute action. Looking forward, though, to what we're going to see with what undoubtedly will be a qualifying lap record here because we've got the new and quicker LMP2 cars with the Gibson engine in this year. We're going to see those qualifying records smashed. It was an altogether different situation, though, last time out. Just last weekend, remember, in what was an extraordinary race day in your home country of Sepang. And we're going to look back in just a few moments at the highlights from what was an astonishing weekend in the fabulous Sepang International Circuit. An extraordinary day at Sepang with major storm damage delaying the start of the 4 hours of Sepang by almost 2 hours. In the early stages, the Aston Martin from D Station Racing would lead the GT race. It was closed down and eventually passed by Liam Talbot in the Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari. That car would lead for much of the race, only to lose to a penalty in the final minutes to the J-Lock Lamborghini Huracan. In LMP3, Team Malaysia, in the form of Vipanisa Racing, led well in the first 2 hours, but it was heartbreak for the Malaysian team with a failure that cost them dear. They would finish the last of the LMP3 runners. Into the lead went the number 3 car from Nielsen Racing. They led well until an attack from the number 9 Graf Racing car would win the race for the very French team. LMP2AM would see a late problem for the 25 car rob them of a race win. That would go the way of the class champions now, the 52 Rickware Racing team. 4th place overall, the 96 K2 Ichino Orica. 3rd, despite this moment, an assault from a P3 car would go to G-Drive by Algarve Pro. 2nd overall would be the car that came home the winner on the road. Rear lights are on at the moment. This shot was taken for the Eurasia Ligier, but by the time it crossed the line, as you can see by this shot, the lights were out and the team had ignored the race director's instruction. That meant the 3 drivers deserved celebrations for them, but that was premature. That would mean that the win would go to the 45 Thunderhead by Carling Racing Delara after a fine run from all 3 drivers.
That was the 4 hours of Sepang, and I have to say that those highlights actually flattered that. Pretty much everything that could have happened at that race did happen. Just, you have your ear to the ground in the pit lane, of course. A bit of feedback from the teams as to what they thought of that race.
It comes down really to one brief statement: what the hell just happened there? I think is what it came down to. And in particular, one of the cars we look at here, the number 88 J-Lock Lamborghini, championship leaders after Sepang. I don't think very many people would have predicted that. 77 Aston Martin, flying high, looking really set to come here with a very strong position indeed. Still in the championship hunt, but dropped all the way down by being the only non-finisher in our GT class. A late gearbox problem for them meant that they didn't cross the line. But basically, I think what defined that race was some of the cars that were looking to have a dominant position coming into this finale didn't have that at Sepang. So we saw the 26 car drop points, we saw the 13 car drop points, we saw the 7 car drop points, and that's what that set up beautifully is an LMP2 championship battle with 3 cars in it, an LMP3 championship with 4 cars in it, and a GT class championship with 6 cars that can still, at least mathematically, get there, win this championship and take with them not just the silverware from that, but an automatic invitation to the Le Mans 24 Hours in June. And this is, in no small part, the car and the team that has actually shown the way forward in GT. A team out of Asia, of course, Japanese team based just outside Fuji Speedway. Car Guy back to defend that title, but they brought with them a cabal of Asian teams to fend off the single European entered car. That's a 51 Spirit of Race car. Yep. Every other team that's been in the championship this year has been based in Asia. We've got the 75 car there in the background, the silver blue front of the 75 T2 Motorsports car from Indonesia, our first Indonesian team. It's been a great breakthrough year, not just in terms of quality, but also in terms of where these teams are coming into international sports car racing from. And I, hope we can welcome something very new indeed to enjoy, for the crowds to enjoy and to cheer on when we get to France in June.
Well, of course, the 4 of the 4 classes, as Graham just pointed out in the highlights, Rickware Racing have essentially taken the LMP2 title already because of course, the ARC Bratislava situation and the RLR M Sport situation as well. GT qualifying starting right now as they kick off, and we'll let you know who's actually in the cars. There are some driver changes here in Buriram based on a clash of events this weekend. There are 4 new drivers coming in. A couple of them are in GT.
6 new drivers, but 4 as a direct result of that clash. And let's call these guys as we see them. Com Ledegaard, by the way, is out there in the bright yellow number 7 car. Guy Ferrari, that's the 2nd car in the order there. 75 car, it is Rio Haranto, as it has been for much of qualifying all year. The 51 car is one of the cars where we do have a change. It is Ferrari factory driver, brand new for this year, Ferrari factory driver Daniel Serra. He is the one man in history to to take the Le Mans 24 Hours GTE Pro win for 2 different factories. He's won for this factory, Aston Martin, as well as his current Ferrari crew. 77 car, that is in the hands of Tomonobu Fuji, led the race last time out, of course. Tim Slade, Australian Supercars driver in the 27 Hub Auto Corsa, and it's Yuya Motojima in the championship leading number 88 J-Log Lamborghini Huracan GT3. They are your sextet for 15 minutes of fast-paced action, I've no doubt, as the drivers work to get some heat into those Michelin tyres and come round to start their first flying laps.
Now, while they do get up to speed with that, let's keep people informed as to exactly what's happening in the championship standings. 6 cars, as you said, have a chance. I know that there are 3 dark horses. There are a couple of dark horses, as T2 Motorsports and well, J-Log, I guess, coming out, or Hub Auto. Go through it.
T2 Motorsports, our Indonesian team, that's the team just coming through turn 1 on the first of the flying laps with Rio Haryanto. They're on 30 points. 3 points ahead of them, D-Station Racing. Their championship hopes took a dent with that non-finish at Sepang, so they're 3 points ahead. A further 9 points ahead, Spirit of Race, the 51 car, the one non-Evo spec Ferrari. 4 points ahead of them, so 16 points ahead of T2 Motorsports. Hub Auto Corsa in the 27, that's the white Ferrari. On the same points, but with a win, therefore absolutely second on countback, our car guy, and then 19 points ahead, remember, with right now 26 points available, the J-Lock Lamborghini. So it's a 19-point spread with 26 points still on the table as things stand right now. That is your GT championship position, with 12 minutes to get sorted as to whether or not where that single point is going to go. Will it mean that J-Lock extend their advantage, or will it mean that one of the 5 contenders closes the gap just a little bit more?
And now let's not forget, of course, that of these 6 cars, Hub Auto Corsa is the one car that has picked up 2 poles out of the 3 races so far in Shanghai and Tibet.
But with a driver that's not here. Davide Rigon, of course, is over in Texas at the FI World Endurance Championship. Tim Slade, though, has been a man that's been working with this team for quite some time in Asia, and he's delighted to be back. They're delighted to have him back. We've got the first flying laps coming through. To the top goes Daniel Serra, 1:33.452 from Com Lidegar. The gap, though, tiny, 65 hundredths of a second. It is, but who's just lost that? In fact, Com Lidegar loses that lap to track limits by the look of things. So Daniel Serra it is from Rio Haryanto. That gap, 0.134 of a second. Takes a lot longer to say it than it takes to actually make that gap. And then 3/10 back as Tim Slade goes through now into the overall pole position. He's 0.184 of a second ahead of Daniel Serra. So Tim Slade from Daniel Serra, 2 of our super subs this weekend, of course, from Rio Haryanto, then Yuya Motojima, then Tomonobu Fuji, then Com Lidegar. And Com Lidegar gets worse still, because he's going to lose the lap he's on now as well. This lap, the number 7 car is not going to score with either that second fastest lap overall, what became 3rd fastest lap, or whatever he produces here, because he's been somewhat wayward. And our new, for this weekend, the other super sub, Rui Marquez, our race director, with Eduardo Freitas missing his first Asian Le Mans Series race for quite some time. But Rui is in the seat and was very clear indeed with all the teams in the drivers and team managers briefing what he expects of them in terms of their behaviour for track limits. Now Com Lidegar gets another chance to redeem himself. We look at the way the times are coming. Rio Haryanto goes to the top, by the way, by 1,000th of a second. It is the Indonesian team, 1:33.267, ahead of Tim Slade, who's out there right now looking to do better, a 1:33.268. Then it's 1:33.452. 1:33.560. Our top 4 right now separated by less than 0.3 of a single second, with the next car up just 1,000th off, a full second back. Change though, and that is a big improvement from Tim Slade. He goes through now a 1:32.9, puts 0.3 on Rio Haryanto. So from a tiny margin, it becomes a significant one in qualifying terms for drivers of this quality. It is Ferrari 1, 2, 3. Then we've got the Aston Martin. Then we've got the J-Lock Lamborghini and Car Guy still to post a time in qualifying, courtesy of those wayward laps from Com Ledegar.
Defending champions Car Guy, of course, sitting right now at the bottom of this table. Once again, how close is this qualifying session going to be? Remember that if they're clocking laps of around about 1:30, and it's, well, there's 8 minutes left in the session, you can do the maths wherever you are watching around the world. There aren't very many laps that you can complete, even at a track which is relatively short, which Buriram is. You have to get your foot on the pedal, and as Graham pointed out, you have to keep your car on the black stuff and not have any of those laps deleted.
Well, to give you an idea, if we said just 1 point can make a bit of a difference, as things stand at this moment in the point standings, Humboldt Corsa are third in the standings. This would put them second, because at the moment they're on equal points with Car Guy, but you count back and you count who's got a race win. Car Guy have, Humboldt haven't. So we've got a bit of a double stacking here for the Ferraris coming in for tyres midway through this qualifying session. But this, if it stayed the way it is with Tim Slade right now, and Tim is going to be the fourth guy on pit road, he's got awfully quiet all of a sudden, that would mean that Humboldt Racing start the race tomorrow in second place in the standings and just 2 points off the championship leaders. So as it stands, Humboldt Corsa from T2 Motorsports, great qualifying performance so far from the Indonesian team. Then Spirit of Race, Daniel Serra in the 51 car. He's still out there, may well be pitting this time around. Then Tomonobu Fuji in the D-Station Racing Aston Martin. J-Lock just pits as I speak in the Lamborghini Huracan, the number 88 car. Car Guy still to post a flying lap.
Now, we've seen all these cars now, a slew of cars, or I should say 5 or 4 of the 6 into the pits, halfway through the session. Looking good so far, but do you think right now, what exactly is happening in the pits here?
What they're doing now is they're deciding just which tyres they're going to actually throw at the cars for this second part of qualifying. What they're trying to do, I'm just looking there, that looks like new tyres on the rear of the number 7 car. Com Ledegar will be going out for a bit of attack. Out goes Rio Haryanto. And with 7 minutes on the clock, that's going to mean he gets a couple of goes at this one. Car 27 being told their front lights are not showing.
Well, it's great to see from T2 Motorsports, of course, having the bit between their teeth right from the start of the weekend here in Thailand.
That would be a great story with the 75 team. First season in ACO Rules Racing, as in comes Daniel Serra in the 51 car. Take a look here, by the way, at the front end. We've got a good opportunity there to see the difference in the cars here.
That's the Evo
So if you look at the side of the nose there, it's the easiest way to spot this. On the splitter, there is a vertical dive plane, if you like. It's a surface that is designed to help the car turn in. When you see any of the other cars on the bodywork above that, there is a horizontal dive plane. So that's a visual sign that that car is not to the absolute latest specification. Why not? Because it did start the meeting at Sepang in Evo Spec, because they had a problem with the gearbox. The gearbox is a change from the earlier spec. They didn't have those spares here in Asia, and so they've had to revert to the earlier version of the car. It didn't seem to hold them back too much in Sepang. They were right there in the mix. Great efforts from all 3 drivers. Francesco Piovanetti, our Puerto Rican driver, Ozzy Negri, and Alessandro Pierguidi, as away goes the Lamborghini as well. And from a quiet pit lane, or a noisy pit lane, it's going to now go noisy on track. Tomonobu Fuji in the growling Aston Martin. Low rumble from the Turbo V8.
Great to see this car really delivering this season. It spent a lot of last season, of course, just finding its position.
They're making their minds up as to what exactly is going to be their program for next season. Certainly a return to the Asia Le Mans Series full-time or even part-time might be on their agenda, as might be a step up to the World Endurance Championship, I hear, which would be a great thing indeed. We'd love to have them stay here in Asia, but even if they do stay with the Asia Le Mans Series, their plan is to upgrade this car to GTE spec and race the WEC crews at their home race in Fuji in Japan. So we're about to get back into no driver changes I can see, unless Com Ledegar steps out. But Tomonobu Fuji certainly started this session. It's Tim Slade, Rio Haryanto, Daniel Serra, Tomonobu Fuji, Yugo Motojima, and Com Ledegar are the 6. In that order, Humboldt Corsa, T2 Motorsports, Spirit of Race, D-Station Racing, J-Lock, Car Guy, Ferrari, then Aston Martin, then Lamborghini, and Tom Ledegar is going to nail this now and get a banker lap in with just 4 minutes to go. I think he's got 2 attempts at this if he needs them. It's Marcus Gomez, it says, aboard that.
That's right. That's what, right now, it looks like Marcus has got on board, but I said this is one of the situations in qualifying that you really have to keep an eye out for with the driver combinations in there. Maybe it's Marcus Gomez. We think it's Tim Slade because that's what we're seeing on our computer timing screens.
Well, timing will be taking the link directly from what's plugged into the car.
That's
so
right. Yeah.
It's just possible they plugged it in the wrong way, but we'll find that out after the session. We'll soon see whether or not it's Tim Slade or Marcus Gomez climbing out if he retains pole position. Rio Haryanto has 0.180 of a second to close the gap. It's tenths all around here, tenths and tenths all around. Probably nobody any more tenths at the moment than Con Ledegar. He goes in, he puts in that banker, and the banker's pretty good. It's 3,000 a second off pole position. So if he retains that lap, that's an extraordinary first attempt under pressure from the Frenchman. It's a 1:32.946, plays 1:32.949. How do you feel about that, Con Ledegar? Do you feel relieved you've got one on the board, or desperately annoyed that you're just 3,000s off pole position? What we know about these Michelin tyres in these qualifying sessions is they tend to be strong as the tyres bed in. Hearing from the media centre, they believe the timing is correct and that is Tim Slade aboard the car and not Marcus Gomez.
Yeah.
Here comes, let's say as we think it is, Tim Slade. Bit of race go to the top, but Tim Slade pips it. So it was Daniel Serra that went to the top by just a tenth of a second, but immediately Tim Slade betters that by a further tenth. So at the moment, Tim Slade retains pole position. It's a 1:32.836 for Tim Slade, the Aussie V8 supercar driver. Daniel Serra, Ferrari GT factory driver, 0.089 of a second off that. And just barely slower, a 1:32.949. 0.113 of a second back is Con Ledegar. So just over a tenth of a second separates our top three. It's a further close to 2 tenths back before Rio Haryanto was second when we got back to the cars on the second set of tyres, but I've yet to see the best of that. That was not a competitive lap time last time around from Rio Haryanto. Tomono Bifucci improved, but not enough to launch the car up the order. He's 4 tenths off pole. We've got a minute and a half to go, so remember, it'll be the lap they're on. If they can complete the lap and go through before the checkered flag is shown, they may get another bit of a shot at this.
Right.
We are not yet, by the way, at the qualifying lap record. That still sits in the hands of the man that's not here, Alessandro Pierguidi. We're a couple of tenths off that. That's a 1:32.617 from last year's race here with the Spirit of Race crew. But that's within reach as these guys go to work. This is Daniel Serra. He'd like to do it. He is going to get another go after this one. Will he need it? Daniel Serra goes through. He does not improve, but is pushing on for another crack. Meanwhile, at the top of the order, Tim Slade doesn't improve either. He goes through in a very competitive time, 1:33.4, but no improvement. 42 seconds on the clock. And who is going to be able to complete the this final flying lap? Car 88, lap 7 deleted. That is the J-Lock Lamborghini. They drop to the bottom of the order now. Still under a second between all 6 of these cars. We're 20 odd seconds now to the checkered flag for this 15-minute session.
And they are really, really pushing it. You can just see all of them right now just on the brink of track limits and trying their hardest, but I have a funny feeling that 1:32.776 might just be the fastest you can go around here. Rio Haryanto, fantastically done by T2 Motorsport.
I think all of these cars are going to another go. The clock runs down. I think as car guy crossed the line, Con Ledegar does improve, but does not improve. He's taken 100th out of the 2 cars ahead of him. Improvement for Tomono Bifucci, by the way. He moved up briefly. In fact, Rio Haryanto goes to the top. Rio Haryanto has taken provisional pole position in what will be his penultimate, might well be his last effort here. 1:32.776, 600ths of a second ahead of Tim Slade. So the Indonesian team go to the top of the order. That is our provisional pole sitting car. We're not getting sector times, I'm afraid, here, so slightly struggling to give you those gaps. There is no gap at all between first and fifth, which is anywhere close to a tenth of a second. It's 0.06 first to second, 0.06 second to third, 0.02 third to fourth, 0.004 fourth to fifth, and then we get quite a big gap, 0.8 of a second back to the J-Lock Lamborghini, which has pitted. Tim Slade has run out of time to do that. I think it looks at the moment very good indeed for T2 Motorsports. Daniel Serra's not improved. He'll know better than fourth. The 77 car is not going to improve. What can Car Guy do? It's all down now to whether Com Ledegaard crossed the line and can complete this lap. I'm not sure he can. I think he may have crossed the line after. Well, we'll see in about 5 seconds' time. Here he comes. He's on it. Can he do it? He does! Com Ledegaard. He breaks the hearts of T2 Motorsports. Com Ledegaard goes through. No, but that lap's been taken away. He grabbed it and it was taken away from him for the third time. So that must be track limits for Com Ledegaard. And it is. It's T2 Motorsports. T2 Motorsports. Kimura-san celebrates, but he's not going to be on pole position. Takeshi Kimura is not going to be.
Heartbreak.
Oh,
absolute heartbreak.
Absolute delight for the Indonesian team. The Japanese team celebrate, but are going to be not on the front row of the grid. They're going to be starting from fifth position on this six-car grid. And there you have it, Rio Haryanto. Fantastic stuff from T2 Motorsports. That brings them just 1 point closer to a mathematical puzzle that could still see them as the champions and going to the Le Mans 24 hours. But there's the kind of moment that this kind of session can produce. You saw it with the T2 Motorsports team crossing their fingers. We knew that Com Ledegaard was the final car to cross the line. He needed to put in that time. He was pushing hard, did enough in terms of the pace, did too much in terms of track limits.
Absolutely, and that's what we were saying, that these six now separated by literally 1 second. You cannot get closer than that. This is the kind of situation we've seen in qualifying anyway. It's great that we've had another exciting qualifying session to end the GT qualifying for this season, but what a performance from T2 Motorsports and Rio Haryanto. A lot of people would have thought they were sitting at the back of this GT class all season, but they come up, and as you were saying to Nadia, just at the top of the program, it's not a question of the leading cars in this class picking up that extra point for pole. It's the outsider picking up the point for the pole, and that really puts a cat amongst the pigeons.
They already knew coming here they had to win. They have to take as many points as they possibly can, but they have to win this race. The net result here is it's an 18-point spread now, not a 19-point spread. Might not sound very much, but who knows what we could be talking about as the stories of the day when we get through that 4 hours and 1 lap for the 4 hours of Buriram. Extraordinary stuff from Rio Haryanto, and they will be rightly, correctly, utterly delighted with that.
Were you, in terms of some of the other drivers, especially we had new drivers in Tim Slade and Daniel Serra, how did they perform, and how did the rest of the class perform?
Great stuff from Tim Slade. I think he was right in there. Daniel Serra, I think, will be slightly disappointed, but remember, he's in the slightly older spec. Let's go down there. Let's talk now with Nadia, who has a heroic Rio Haryanto with her in pit lane.
Yes, we do, Graham. Rio Haryanto, all smiles here in the garage. The whole team is here. We just have to ask, how are you feeling? You look excited and happy, of course.
Yeah, I mean, all weekend we've been very competitive since, day one when we arrived here at Buriram. So, yeah, I'm very happy that, we keep making progress with the car. I think the season has been pretty tough, but I think coming to the final round, we have just, gone much quicker than what we were before. So I'm very happy with the result today, and hopefully we can bring it home tomorrow.
Yes, talking about tomorrow, so you are already scored that 1 point for the team. So what's it looking like for Team T2 going in this final round?
I think it's going to be very interesting. The championship is still wide open, so we just have to focus on our job to be the quickest one on the track, of course, and yeah, stay out of trouble, and yeah, hopefully, among the other teammates, we can stay on top, and yeah, I think we're looking very strong for tomorrow race. Yeah.
Regardless of what happens tomorrow, you did a great job today. So see you at pole position tomorrow. We're from T2 Motorsport, of course. This was Rio Haryanto taking pole for GT.
Remember, this is a lot of what this is all about. It's the Asian teams announcing with a great big 200-mile-an-hour calling card, we're here, you've got to take us seriously. And that will have been seen, I'm sure, by some of the other teams, not just here, but across the world, thinking, we've got to take these guys seriously right now. That's what this is about. It's an emerging marketplace in sports car racing here in Asia. And Rio Haryanto has just put a great big stamp on that.
Well, that was fantastic stuff. And if you missed any of it, let's get back now and have a look at GT qualifying for the 4 hours of Buriram.
6 cars leave the pits here at Chiang International Circuit, Buriram in Thailand, for the final GT qualifying session of the 2019-2020 Asian Le Mans Series season. Car guy looking to get this single point. He'll make a difference there. Spirit of race with Daniel Serra aboard the car. He kept it on the grey stuff. Conrad Edgar was struggling to do that. Daniel Serra, the newly minted Ferrari factory driver, looked well set to be in the mix there. He, though, would not be able to take pole position this time around, could do no better than third. Tim Slade, another of our super subs this weekend, the Australian star in the 27 of Auto Corsa car, topped the times more than once, more than twice. Thought they'd nailed it, but at the end, it would be a new name on the Roll of Honour for the Asian Le Mans Series pole setters. That name would be Rio Haryanto. That team would be T2 Motorsports from the proud country of Indonesia. Is this the first international pole position for an Indonesian team? I suspect very much that it is. Great stuff.
Fantastic. And just to stress once again, all 6 cars separated by just over 1 second. That's how close, with 3 different leaders during that qualifying session. And I think we have to ask here, if that does become the only thing, well, the only pole that T2 have picked up this year, how significant and important is it for that team?
It buoys them up coming into the race where they know they've got to win, and it buoys them up as well at the end of a season where they've been consistent but haven't yet shone.
Yeah.
And it will encourage them to put on the dotted line, we're going to come back and have another crack at this. And I hope they do, because it's been great to see that. The one weakness in that class, the strength is all 6 cars can do it. The weakness is all 6 cars can do it, so there's no one else in the class to take points away from it. So they're now going to have to rely on grabbing a win, if they possibly can, and everybody else having a really, really bad day. That's not the case in the next qualifying session we go to, which is LMP3.
Now, talking of having a bad day, car guy, who thought that we saw the shots from inside the pit, they thought they got it. They need the points to defend their title. How are they going to feel? How are they going to get over this?
It's a bit of a downer for them, isn't it, as we wait for the LMP3 cars to take to the track. They could have ended up there two points off the championship lead, which when you get down into 5th and 6th position, can be a championship deciding margin if everybody in their orbit has a problem. They've got a bit of a cushion to some of the cars below them. If they get into a battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th positions with J-Lock and Aboard Auto Racing, that single point could be the deciding factor. I mean, we could find some remarkable results at the end of this race, as we did at Sepang just a week ago. LMP3, though, this is where it's a little bit different.
Because it's not just about GT. LMP3 qualifying just about to start, as you can see. The car's ready in the pit lane. 4
of the 8 cars we have here are in championship contention. We'll come through those points gaps shortly. But that means we've got 4 cars that aren't, and they can take points from the championship contenders. Points gaps at the moment, the spread is 22 points with 26 points still on the table. Team Ace won for Orba Corsa. You saw the very bright yellow Italian entered Ligia in the background when we opened the programme with Nadia a little earlier. They're 22 points off. So that 1 point will just help them to just think there might be just a possibility here. 3 points out of
very much expecting something to happen to the top front runners.
Oh, we saw it. We saw it again in Sepang. It can happen. Graf Racing, winners last time out, they are further 3 points closer, so they're 19 points off the championship lead. A mighty leap then to Nielsen Racing, the number 2 car. Colin Noble almost got on the podium, but then a late penalty for Colin dropped him back. 3 points off the dominant force that has been the 13 Inter-Europol competition car. The other thing to say here, celebrate for a moment. Last time we're going to hear this noise, this is the outgoing Nissan V8 for the current current breed of LMP3 cars. This is the last race meeting that we will see with these cars in contemporary competition in ACO rules racing.
Wow.
Another year to come in North America, but these first generation LMP3 cars, competitive careers end here at Buriram. After this, we move to Europe, and the cars we'll see next season in the Asian Le Mans Series, the next generation, more powerful, better aero, better upgrade in terms of safety equipment as well for these cars, with a new gearbox as well, and a very different looking field next time when we start the season at Suzuka.
Well, looking at the cars now, we can tell you that Inter-Europol competition still in the pits, haven't started yet. Dominic Ang in the Viper Nisa Racing, Nigel Moore in the number 13 Inter-Europol, very fast there. David Fumanelli is at the helm of the Ace 1 Villorba Corsa. David Drew in the number 9 Graf, Matthias Kaiser in the number 8 Graf, and Garrett Grist, number 3 Nielsen, Colin Noble in the number 2 Nielsen. That's
just joining in now, so we've got all 8 cars on track. Dan Wells is aboard the number 18 car on his out lap as well. Looking up and down that order, Colin Noble we know has got pole-setting form without a shadow of a doubt. Garrett Grist, I think, could be a bit of a dark horse here. He's been remarkably quick and was excellent at Sepang. We've then got Matthias Kaiser, unknown quantity here. David Fumanelli has been fast. Nigel Moore is a force of nature aboard one of these cars. Dominic Ang got a great time at Sepang. What can he do about repeating his form? And David Drew, another man who has shown consistently good pace in LMP3 cars over the last couple of seasons. So this, I think, could be another really tight battle with a couple of emerging talents here. Garrett Grist being one of them. Looking at the Canadian flag driver now aboard the number 3 Nielsen racing car. He, I think, could well be in the mix, but not if he goes to track limits like that.
Like that. And of course, Graf Racing, the car we're looking at right now, very much the team in ascension after that fantastic win in Sepang.
Absolutely, and they'll be looking to consolidate on that. Again, they're one of those teams that can do it, needs the 2 cars ahead of them. That's been the number 2 Nielsen car and the 13 car to have a very bad day today and an even worse day tomorrow. But the number 9 car can still be the championship winning car here. Graf Racing, a very, very long established team from France. Their Le Mans history goes back decades in various forms, but in recent years they've taken wins in LMP2, they've taken wins in LMP3. They're going to be looking to add another trophy here this weekend to a very proud history indeed for a very proud group of Frenchmen.
Now this should be a lap time coming up now after 2 laps of getting their tyres nice and warmed up.
And it's Colin Noble that goes to the top. Colin Noble just pips the early effort there from David Drew. It's a 1:30.034 is the offer from Colin. 1:30.598, the next best, that is David Drew. Garrett Grist, a further 10th or half a 10th off that. Half a second back from that, Matthias Kaiser. A little off the pace at the moment, David Fumanelli. We wait for Nigel Moore's first. He has come through 1:31, so that's not at the moment going to trouble Colin Noble. It's a 1:2.34 at the moment for the 4 Normas. Then we have 3 of the 4 Ligiers, with Dan Wells still to complete a flying lap. So Colin Noble it is, the young Scotsman in the number 2 Nielsen Racing. He is without a shadow of a doubt an emerging talent in prototype racing, beginning to be noticed by the LMP2 teams. He was invited over to take the wheel of the G-Drive racing car as part of their young driver rookie test at Bahrain. Did very well there indeed, and certainly is looking for the next step forward. The next step forward is going to be to consolidate some race winning form and certainly podium winning form as well. European Le Mans Series and Michelin Le Mans Cup. We've seen the number 2 car perform throughout the year here. Let's see whether or not
solidly,
absolutely, that Tony Wells can do enough to close that 3-point gap here by a further point, put further pressure on the Martin Hipper, Nigel Moore combo in the 13 car. To the top though goes David Drew into the 29s. David Drew goes forward to 29.747, but again is pipped by Colin Noble, this time by 7 thousandths of a second. These gaps, as they were last year here in every class, are absolutely tiny. 7 thousandths of a second. Matthias Kaiser goes through. He's not at the moment troubling the lead cars, waiting for the Inter-Europol competition car. What can we see from Nigel Moore? He's not going to improve this time around, so Nigel not troubling the overall order at the moment. Garrett Grist, by the way, lost that time to track limits last time around. So he's in a bit of a Colin situation. No time yet scored from Garrett Grist. He was, of course, third quickest, but has lost in time to track limits. As we look at the number 8 car coming through, this is the addition we had at Sepang. Second Graf car sits third in the hands of Matthias Kaiser. Into the 29s and getting down towards the kind of time for the qualifying lap record. High temperatures here. We didn't have quite the kind of
and dry as
searing
well.
heat here a couple of years ago when Josh Burden set the qualifying lap record for KCMG. But with these high temperatures, tyres do tend to find it just a little more difficult to get the ultimate grip. 1:29.740 is the mark for Colin Noble. What can Matthias Kaiser do about that? David Drew, by the way, has pitted the car. So the 9 car will not improve this time around. Nielsen Racing, are they going to come through? What we're going to see from Matthias Kaiser. He does improve. He closes the gap to under a second, but it's 3/4 of a second. So some little way off his teammate, but at the moment it's Graf 2-3. Nielsen top the times. And Garrett Grist pops up now into 7th position, gets a banker into Europe on the hands of Nigel Moore. Clearly did not have his qualifying tyres on for that run, so I think we might see a rather different quality of run from him. 3 normals in a row here. Colin Noble to the 4. Is he pushing on these tyres, or are we going to see the Scot down pit lane? He's improved again. He's pulled out a further 0.2 of a second. So he stayed out as David Drew pitted. It's a 1:29.516 now from Noble. He has the better part of a 1/4 of a second advantage over David Drew, 3/4 of a second over Matthias Kaiser. Garrett Grist has stayed out for the moment, as we see David Drew getting new rubber on the number 9 Graf Racing car. He's in. Nigel Moore is in 13. They sit 4th quickest. David Fuminelli sits 5th quickest in the Ace 1 Valorba Corsa. He's on pit lane, as is the Viper Nisa Racing car.
Oh, they're all 3 of them just leaving. We just saw in the back of that shot. So into Europol, Ace 1 Valorba and Viper Nisa now back on the track again, and with a lot to do.
In comes Colin Noble, and Matthias Kaiser, I think, is due in as well. That's why they were pushing the other car forward. Garrett Grist has popped in as well. So we've got 1 batch of 4 already been on pit lane. There's a second batch of 4 now coming in for their opportunity to change the rubber. 7 minutes to go. Still time for a couple of quick laps from each of these cars that are coming out and the ones that are just coming in. The drivers we're looking at here that are somewhat out of the position we might expect their capabilities so far this season. Nigel Moore sits 4th, but he's quickest at the moment of the Ligiers. Garrett Grist sits just 7th. Car 2, lap 5, and that is the in-lap for Colin Noble gets deleted. He'll worry a bit less about that one. It's 1:29.516 for Colin Noble. That is the pole position car. Away go. Both of the Nielsen cars, the 2 ahead of the 3. Colin Noble away. Some problem at the front of the car there. I think they're just securing one of the, I think that's the access hatch that allows them to actually adjust the suspension.
Second counts. With
out goes the 8
left in the session. What is the problem here?
And that is,
that's
either a problem or it's an adjustment that Garrett's asked for, and it could be just an adjustment, so less of a drama, more of an opportunity. But the clock is still ticking, under 6 minutes now. Noble on his outlap.
Well, I can tell you one thing, Dan Wells is currently flying. He's just put in a pretty good sector 3 time.
Yep, that's an improvement for him.
32.026.
So that car, 2.5 seconds off. The reason behind that, by the way, that will certainly be a car that's set up for his teammate, Philip Midori.
Yeah.
It's been set up to be kinder for the less experienced gentleman driver than for Dan Wells, a professional driver here. That's just part of the challenge for a Pro-Am pairing. You've got to find a car you can both race.
Right.
And that might just be what Dan Wells is actually grappling with there. That will pay them dividends, though, in that when we get into the race, Philip Kadori will have a car that he can race within his safety zone, with his parameters at the moment. Watching to see if anybody's going to improve here as Matthias Kaiser goes through onto his quick lap. Nielsen Racing car already out on that lap. Cars 5 car 13.
That's Nigel Moore.
That is Nigel Moore's and another 2 laps deleted. So it's the lap he's completed and his first flying lap on that new rubber. So Nigel not having the best of it here. He's going to need to produce the goods at the end of this session. David Drew comes through. He's currently sitting 0.231 of a second off. He's coming into sector 3 on what will be his first flying lap on the second set of tyres for the number 9 Graf Racing crew. No major improvements of the major runners here so far. Nigel Moore improves on that lap. He will lose that time. Didn't actually bring him up for 4th though. So who are we watching here? David Drew, no improvement. That was his out lap, but he's in sector 3 now. I'm looking at Colin Noble looking very racy indeed in the number 2 car. His sector time indeed is a purple in sector 1 from Colin Noble. He is in the zone and is looking not just to maintain that gap to the rest, but to nail it down.
And that, of course, would reduce, if he does get the pole, that 3-point lead to 2.
Indeed, and it's a purple in sector 2 as well. So right now, looks to me as if Colin Noble has got it within his grasp to increase his margin in provisional pole position. Scotsman slightly frustrated after the race at Sepang, caught the battle back for the final podium position, dealt with 2 of them, was on the tail of Nigel Moore before getting a stop and hold, 1 second penalty for an earlier pit stop problem, and 29.113 it is. He's gone 6/10 of a second quicker than his nearest competitor. That is David Drew. What can David Drew do about that one? Just looking to see if anybody else is going to improve here. David Fuminelli, by the way, shuffles Nigel Moore down to 5th, and David Fuminelli now becomes the lead car in the Ligier pack and do no better than 4th at the moment. This time here, though, you sort of sense that someone can nail it down.
Colin Noble's actually started another flying lap based on the momentum of his last one. He's just gone purple on sector 1. There are 3 other drivers who are putting in some pretty fast sectors, but nothing close to what that number 2 Nielsen racing car is doing right now.
Anybody that follows international sports car racing will be familiar with the term feisty little Scot. It's normally the guy that usually sits next to me for WEC commentary, but here's a new one in Colin Noble. Garrett Grist goes second. It's Nielsen 1-2 right now. So Garrett Grist just edges out the challenge from David Drew, who, by the way, goes through, does not improve. It's another one in the 29s. So 3 men in the 29s. 29.113, Colin Noble. Garrett Grist pops up with a 29.511. I think he's a threat here to Colin Noble, because there's certainly a bit of friendly rival between those 2 squads. Then it's David Drew, and then Matthias Kaiser. It's a Norma 1, 2, 3, 4 again. It's Nielsen, Graf. Then David Fuminelli. Nigel Moore needs to find pace here because at the moment it looks like he's going to improve on this lap, but where will that leave him? Can he leap the order? At the moment, Nigel Moore needs to find more than 1.5 seconds to get onto the front row, let alone pole position.
But Garrett Grist again is put in a really fast sector 2. It looks like Colin Noble took his foot off the pedal a little bit.
Colin Noble a 1:29.5 last time around, but what can Garrett Grist do as he comes to the end of this lap?
He's accelerating for sure.
So he closes the gap a little, I think, has he? He's not completed that lap, has he? No, he's not.
Not yet.
So it's a 1:29.511 from Garrett Grist. We're looking to see what he can do at the end of this lap. Colin Noble doesn't improve on his latest quick lap. Matthias Kaiser does, but does not move from 4th. Nigel Moore improves, but just 1 position, has still not got in amongst the Normas. 1:30.234 means he's still over 1 second off Colin Noble's best time with 45 seconds to go. Most of these men are going to have just 1 lap. Some of them 2. I think Colin Noble might have a second crack at this one.
Well, everybody
There's
has
a potential improvement here for Colin, but it's going to be a marginal one. If I'm looking to see what can come from Garrett Grist, it's a 1:29.410. He shaves 1/10 off his best time. That's not going to trouble Colin Noble this time around, but it keeps the rest of them honest. It also maintains a gap to David Drew, who would have taken second. No, he wouldn't. It'd have been just thousandths off it, but 1:29.543. Behind Noble, it's close. But Noble, for the moment, has just cleared off a little, but we're still just talking 0.3 of a second. If Garrett Grist can actually find that pace in the number 3 car.
Well, just looking at the sector times now, and it looks like everybody is going to be settling. No
It's
one's
going to
really-
be the checkered flag lets them around, but all of a sudden we get purple sectors appearing for both of the Nielsen Racing crews. Who can make it? No improvement here. There's going to be for the number 8 or the number 13. They'll finish no better than 4th and 5th. The 12th car comes home in 6th. Viper Nisa Racing finished 7th. It's all about the top 3. 29.113 it is. Nielsen Racing's Garrett Grist improves again, 129.399. No better than 2nd for him. What can David Drew do about this? He is improving. He's due through any time now, but it's going to be Colin Noble at the flag is going to be the next one through. No improvement from David Drew. Colin Noble is on pole position again for Nielsen Racing. So it's a 2nd pole position of the season for the number 2 car and a 2nd pole position for Scottish driver Colin Noble. Nielsen Racing will finish qualifying here, dominating the front row, a 1-2 for the white and blue Scottish colours.
Astounding stuff.
On the rear fin of the number 2 car, and he finishes with a much improved time as well, 129.001. Nails it at the end. Well done, young man. Colin Noble bossed that session from the off.
And almost had a 129 flat. So these LMP3 cars clocking up literally on this Buriram track about 3 seconds faster than GT. But what a performance from Nielsen Racing in the weekend that they needed to really push it. Colin Noble and Garrett Grist were the only 2 people, even on their last laps. And in the end, they clocked 10 and 9 laps respectively. They were the only ones hitting purple sectors.
Puts the pressure on the 13
Massively,
car.
massively.
The gap now closes to just 2 points with 25
How-
on offer tomorrow. But it does set it up, doesn't it? Realistically, in terms of competitive running, if we're not going to wish ill on anybody in this, they are the 2 cars in the run for the championship. Mathematically, the 9 and the 12 can still do it, but it requires the 2 cars ahead to have a really, really bad day. That was magnificent stuff from Colin Noble, and I hope we're going to see him do something which, when he's in race mode, he doesn't do very often, which is crack a smile.
Wow. And of course, what this means is, what you have to realize is that if there was a 3-point gap that all these teams have been thinking about for a week, and that goes down to 2, the massive weight of that extra point being lost is going to reverberate around this pit lane tonight, I can tell you.
Well, the number 3 car there, Garrett Grist, is the 2nd place car, the number 3. It's a little wee while before we see Colin Noble come in. He was about half a minute back on track. Judged that beautifully, gave himself, the team clearly spotting well for Colin, gave him all the room in the world. He was never troubled in traffic at all, and that meant that he could concentrate on one thing, hit the apexes, get the power in, and he did that beautifully. He should be rightly proud of himself.
Now, one thing, of course, I know you're going to be very impressed with is 4 Normas topping the pack. The rest Ligiers.
Well, it clearly does look, doesn't it, like a bit of a Norma track here, and that's bad news, of course, for the number 13 car, which is the leading car in the order at the moment, but it's not a Norma, it's a Ligier. So let's wait and see what was going to happen over 4 hours tomorrow. But for the moment, it does look a bit Normatastic, doesn't it?
Did you expect a little bit more from the number 13 into your report? Possibly a mechanical problem there, maybe?
I think Nigel didn't nail it in terms of track limits, and I'm afraid that
we always see him doing that.
Maybe that just cost the best of his Michelin tyres today, and he'll be, I'm sure, regretting that. The team will know they're a little bit on the back foot. He won't be that worried about being, what is he, 5th on the grid.
Yep.
He'll be more worried about the performance gap between the Normas and the Ligier in ultimate pace. But trust me, when we get into the race tomorrow, you're going to see a wholly different picture. Martin Hipper, one of the very best bronze-ranked drivers anywhere in LMP3 racing, and Nigel Moore, who drives an LMP3 car in a completely different way to most people. Most people see that these cars reward really smooth driving. Nigel is anything but smooth, but God, he's quick. I mean, really, really quick.
And we've seen him do some dramatic things.
Yeah.
Massive multi-overtakes on corners if he needs to. Now, that's probably not what the team would ask him to do, but he is a capable driver, shall we say the least. Some of these other teams, Graph Racing, they were doing, David Drew and Matthias Kaiser. Of course, Matthias Kaiser has only been racing this weekend and last weekend. How did they do?
They did great. It looked as if at one point as if we might get a 3-way battle in the hundredths for the overall pole position. but then somehow Colin Noble turned it up to 11. He must have one of those things that goes up to 11 in the cockpit, but he just turned it up a notch, and there was no answer from the other normal drivers today. So hats off to him. His battle is twofold. It's a battle for the championship and for that automatic invitation, but it's also a battle for a career in this sports car. And to get that, you've got to produce the goods. We're going to see in just a moment, as we look back at that 50 minutes of qualifying, just how he did it here before the 4 hours of Buriram tomorrow. 8 LMP3 cars leave the pits in searing heat, 32 degrees this afternoon at Buriram for 15 minutes of qualifying. And it looked from the off as if it would beat Norma's day. The quick time was coming easily, it seems, for all the cars. Matthias Kaiser in the mix in the earlier running, but then he was bettered by teammate the number 9 Graf Racing car, David True. Topped the times early on, looked like it could be a matter of hundredths. Garrett Grist had a staccato start to his qualifying, but immediately they got the new tyres on the car, was up there battling and up into second position at the overall order. But ultimately, none of them had an answer to this man. Colin Noble seemed to be a bit of a coming out party for him for his motorsport career here in the Asian Le Mans Series. He nails another pole position for himself, for the Norma M30, for Nielsen Racing and for his teammate Tony Wells. They will be on pole position for the start of tomorrow's 4 hours of Buriram in a hotly contested LMP3 class.
And while we are here, I'd just like to big thanks to all the people that have been leaving comments on the official Facebook live stream. In fact, they've been giving a lot of support to quote the feisty little Scott. I think you may have even started a hashtag tag.
I'm thinking that what we should do actually at the rear of the Nielsen Racing pit is we need to find out what happened to the cage they used to keep Alan McNish in and goad him before he got into the car, because there's something very similar about the way that Colin Noble goes racing to what we used to get from the extraordinary talent that was Alan McNish. I think we're going to see an awful lot more of him, but that was an absolutely great qualifying performance in that kind of company and in a class that's this closely matched.
Yeah.
Remember, these are fairly spec cars. There's a lot you can do with them, but you know, these cars being as similar as they are, it takes talent to pull out any kind of gap. To pull out a gap and consistently pull out that gap under pressure, I think takes really quite something. There's something about his performance here this season in the Asian Le Mans Series that sort of indicates that Colin Noble has turned a bit of a corner.
Well,
and I think both here tomorrow and in Europe for the coming season, we're going to see something special.
They did actually top the test session as well, both the Nielsen. So maybe it is, in fact, a question of the team and the setup as well. Now, it was a fantastic qualifying from Nielsen Racing. Let's get down to the pit lane. Nadia is with Colin Noble. Let's hear what he has to say.
The fastest LMP3 car today, Colin Noble. So congratulations. Things are going well for you so far?
Yeah, it's been a great weekend so far. Nielsen gave me a great car there for qualifying, probably the best I felt it, yeah, and we managed to nail the lap. So yeah, it was an ideal start to the weekend, and it's given us the best hope for the championship tomorrow.
Fantastic, of course. So 1 point in the bag already. What's the strategy for tomorrow?
It's just going to be the same as we normally do, keep our heads down and just try and stay out of trouble. And we know we've got a fast car. Tony's been very fast this weekend as well. So, if we can stay consistent throughout the 4 hours, hopefully we'll be there or thereabouts at the end.
Fantastic. So all the best for tomorrow for you and the team. That was it. Back to studio.
Interesting words from Colin Noble. Stay out of trouble. Keep our heads in our game. I have to ask you now, with a 1-2 in testing and in qualifying, are there any sort of team orders that'll go on here? In the final round, is there going to be any kind of protection happening?
Oh, no. Maybe if ultimately it came down to a championship win. But that's going to be difficult if you're actually dealing with the first and second.
You're right.
For me, there are 3 races underway here. There's the overall race in LMP3 between all of those teams. Then you've got 2 other battles. You've got Colin Noble versus Nigel Moore, and you've got Tony Wells versus Martin Hipper.
Right.
The lower ranked drivers, the gentleman drivers, if you like, the bronze ranked drivers versus the more professionally ranked drivers. They are the key battles. It's going to be about who is the quicker, lesser ranked driver, as well as just as much, if not more so, than who is going to be the quickest of the 2 pro drivers. I think it's a fascinating battle we're going to see tomorrow.
The other question, of course, when you have driver combinations, which is the essence of mixed class racing, Tony Wells and Colin Noble both very fast, quite equally fast, you could say. Who starts tomorrow?
I think we'll see Tony start the car. We usually do, so the gentleman drivers start the car. There's a number of reasons for that. One of those reasons is you're more likely to get an incident in the early part of the race when the cars are closer together, which means you're more likely to get caution time, and you don't want to burn the available time of the faster driver. Yeah. So that's when you'll generally see your gentleman drivers starting the race. Apart from which, let's face it, for the most part, these are the guys who are paying for it, and they want an assurance they're going to get that seat time. So that's what I think we'll see, but I've been surprised before about some strategies we've got.
And now, as you can see, we have LMP2, combined LMP2 and LMP2 AM qualifying, still 15 minutes. But this class, Graham, these are the big boys. It's down to 3 cars, essentially. Just a quick word while they're getting warmed up. What is the situation if you have already won your title, as Rick Ware Racing already has?
They've got to finish this race and they can go and celebrate and enjoy that moment. Particularly, we've got Pierre Fillon, the president of the ACO.
And a lot of VIPs.
We've got a lot of VIPs from the ACO here this weekend, and I'm sure he'll have some words for what will be a brand new team to the Le Mans 24 Hours, and that'll be great for Cody Ware and that crew. The championship position, by the way, 3 cars still in it. It is the 36 Eurasia Motorsport car on 55 points, a point behind the 45 Thunderhead Carlin team. And remember, that was critical decision at the end of the race at Sepang. We'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow, where penalty went the way of the 36 car for ignoring the instruction to come and fix the rear lights of the car. I was told, by the way, in Parc Fermé, they gave it a kick, the lights came on. Isn't that always the way? 9 points ahead, though, of them is the 26G Drive Racing Balga Pro Racing Team, the Aris 01. They didn't have the best of races at Sepang, but recovered positions to give themselves a bit of a cushion. Into the first of the flying laps now. That is Nick Cassidy aboard the number 1 Eurasia Motorsport car, a car, a team that just cannot cut a break. I don't think they've scored a point on track this season in racing, with all sorts of issues with that car. Matthias Besch is aboard the number 34 into Europol car. Cody Ware is out there in the championship, winning 52 Rick Ware Racing LMP2 AM car. Sean Tong, one of the standouts performers last time out in K2 Yachino Racing's Orica. He's aboard the 96 car. Guy Cosmo, the US driver that's been with us for the last 3 seasons in the Asian Le Mans Series, is delighted to have him back in the 25 Rick Ware Racing car, the second car in the LMP2 AM. John Corbett is at the 33 into Europol Ligier. Ben Barnicoat, another standout talent we've had this year, is aboard the number 45 Thunderhead Racing, Carlin Racing, Dallara. Nick Foster, an emerging talent too, Australian driver, more used to seeing in GT racing, but he seems to be a natural in the LMP2 cars. He's aboard the 36, and we wait to see who will bring out the 26 car.
Well, I can tell you now, the earliest indication is that Eurasia Motorsport are not wasting any time. Nick Cassidy has just put down 2 blinding sectors to open up his lap. That's lap 1.
That's the number 1 car, Nick Cassidy from New Zealand. And a man who's already got Super Formula title win and a Super GT title win in Japan on his career CV. There's a lot more to come, trust me, from Nick Cassidy. Here across the line comes Sean Tong. Matthias Besch, by the way, goes through. Sean Tong goes to the top, 123.555 from the number 96 driver, ahead of Matthias Besch, 123.883. Then Nick Cassidy with a 124.209. Cody Ware puts in a time in the 129s to put the first flying lap in for LMP2 AM. So 123.555 is the time to beat. To give you an idea, by the way, of the difference in pace between these cars and the previous generation, the fastest qualifying lap we have ever seen in LMP2 came from clearly one of the previous iterations of LMP2, was 2 seconds slower than even the lap we've already seen from Sean Tong. So that is a qualifying lap record, outright qualifying lap record in sports car racing here.
On that note, exactly what have K2 Uchino done in the last 8 days? Their qualifying in Sepang and their qualifying here has been absolutely brilliant.
They've been learning, and I think that's been great to see. I had a long chat with Sean about the strategy that led them to be able to do what they did in Sepang. It was tyre choice as well as raw speed. Sean, remember, has got prototype racing experience in LMP3 in the Asian Le Mans Series, but he's perfectly prepared to say they've got a lot still to learn, a few mistakes they made along the way, but I think we're going to see a lot more from K2 Achino Racing. It's a 34 car. Matthias Besch pops into the pits. Nick Cassidy, by the way, goes through a 1:22.904. That's the new mark. 1:22.904 is 1/10 of a second clear now of Ben Barnicoat. Sean Tong is all of a sudden 6/10ths back. So the quick guys getting stuck in early on here, and a couple of them already coming in for this. We've seen this throughout the season, coming in for a second set of tyres, just putting one rapid lap on these tyres, put them back into the stock they've got for the 4 hours tomorrow, and taking a further lap on maybe 2 out of a second set. So it's Eurasia Motorsport with the Ligier. Nick Cassidy is at the moment our provisional pole setter, a new qualifying lap record. Anybody that beats that will still be a new qualifying lap record. 1/10 of a second ahead of Ben Barnicoat, and a Dallara that's been very quick indeed here this weekend. Then the K2 Achino Racing 96, and then Matthias Besch in the 34 into Europol. Ligier, they're your top 4, with Nick Foster popping up 5th in the title contending 36 car, and the interior Europol second car, hands of John Corbett. We've not yet seen the 26 car out on track. This is something we've seen before, them joining the session late and popping in something extraordinary. Will we see a pole position in the 26? Well, that would be good news.
Let's hope that is exactly what is happening at G-Drive Racing by Algarve. They had a very interesting, should we say, 4 hours of Sepang. I was actually talking to Sam Cox just after that race. A kinked exhaust could have ended their campaign at any point on any lap after the damage was done.
Extraordinary moment. Ben Barnicoat goes through and matches to the 1,000th the time of Nick Cassidy. We have the top 2 cars both having registered a 1:22.904. Provisional pole, though, of course, goes to the moment this car, number 1 car. Why? Because they set it first.
Right.
That's the way the rules work.
Wow.
So matched times
1:22.904.
But I think that time is going to be deleted for Ben Barnicoat for track limits. So for a moment we get to celebrate an extraordinary moment, but I think that lap is going to go back. He'll stay second. You already had the second fastest time, but for a moment, that's an amazing moment in motorsport here. Car 96, by the way, is going to get a problem with the stewards for speeding in pit lane.
Well, how about this? We've got, well, that was pushed back. I thought for a second it was going to be wheeled into the garage. It isn't, of course. This would be Nick Cassidy, if he gets it, of course, second consecutive pole. That Eurasia number 1 car picked up the pole in Sepang. Of course, their other Eurasia car picked up a pole as well, and that was in Shanghai right at the start of the season.
Yeah, so we are halfway through, all but 10 seconds, this 15-minute session. At the moment, it is Ligier from Dallara, from Orica, and followers of sports car racing will love that variety. And it's something we've been able to celebrate and enjoy all the way through this season, with all 3 of those different makes of chassis having their moment in the sun, and literally in the sun here, as out comes the 96 car from pit lane. Still no sign, with 7 minutes and 15 seconds to go of the number 26 car. I don't think there's a problem there. I think they're just biding their time. K2 Achino Racing enjoying their first season in LMP2. I think we're going to see a lot more of this team going about this in a very, very considered, structured way.
Methodical, strategic, structured way. Yeah.
Watching what goes on with the other teams here, all of whom are experienced sports car racing teams. Side by side, as out comes the 26 car.
That pretty much sums up the season so far, that corner.
That's Roman Rusinov with the 36 car going side by side. That's Nick Foster at the wheel, watching for where the times are going to improve. Nick Foster moves up to 4th position with the lap he's just completed. So it is Eurasia 1st and 4th now.
Well, it's Ben Barnicoat's flying at the moment. He just put in a very fast sector 2.
No, that was on his in-lap.
Okay.
So he's in the pits. So Ben Barnicoat, he's got the pace of that car to improve without a shadow of a doubt. He loses that time that matched Nick Cassidy's time. It's a 1:23 dead, all but for 1,000th of a second. There's dramas to come here, you know. There's pace in this track, there's pace in these cars without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, I don't think there's one qualifying session we've seen actually over the last 2 years which didn't end up in some big drama. And to be honest, in the last minute, within the last 2 laps.
So what's still to come? Guy Cosman, by the way, grabs the provisional pole in LMP2M, and I think we'll retain it with that. That's a 1:27.035 for the 25 car. Cody Ware pits the 52 car. They just need a conservative run here. Still on pit road, by the way. Ben Barnicoat has not yet emerged. I think they'll come out, if they're going to come out for a bit of a storming run for pole, it's going to be the last 5 minutes now. Nick Foster pits from that 4th position. So Eurasia in the hands of Nick Cassidy. He's on his out lap and about to launch for his 2nd attempt to consolidate that, less than a 1/10 of a second advantage. Out now comes Ben Barnicoat with 5 minutes on the clock.
G-Drive are putting pedal to the metal, as you'd expect. With 4 minutes left to go, they just put in a very fast sector 1.
Well, Roman Rusinov looking to do what he can do to secure pole and improve their 9-point cushion at the moment to the Thunderhead Carlin Racing team. Ben Barnicoat's going to want to make that difficult for him. Nick Cassidy's going to want to take the points off both of them. Nick Foster's going to want the point to close the gap. If he closes that gap, he'll close it by a point, and we will have 2 cars in equal second in the championship coming into the final race. So who is going to be the first mover and shaker? Matthias Besch improved his time, by the way, last time around, but won't this time through.
Well, I can tell you, Graham, this is going to be good from G-Drive. It's not a purple sector 2, but it's green, which means he is still flying.
Well, it's going to be his first flying lap. So we watch Ben Barnicoat on his out lap. 26 car is the car that is going to improve, and he goes only 6th.
Well.
So 1:23.752. Remember, green sector would only be against his out lap. So purple matters, green matters now, because anything now is about Roman Rusinov closing the 8.5 tenths gap to Nick Cassidy. So
well, he's still going
Ben Barnicoat now, as Nick Foster comes out of the pits, and Barnicoat will clear that, but Foster will be able to follow the Dallara. These are going to be 2 cars to watch. These are the 2nd and 3rd cars in the championship battle, and this could be the bid that Ben Barnicoat makes for pole position. Nick behind him, of course. Nick Foster will not be on a fast lap. He'll be on the opportunity to get the heat into his Michelin. You'll see the car, the yellow and blue car, weaving behind.
Well, what a great
the 45
situation
car
for Thunderhead Carlin. That would be if they could pick up a 2nd pole this season after, of course, scoring.
Meantime, what's going on with Roman Rusinov's progress? And the answer for Roman Rusinov is he has set a purple sector, did not improve in the middle sector. So anything could happen on Roman Rusinov's lap here. Then Barnicoat has gone quicker than he's gone before in his first sector, but again does not improve in the second sector. A little bit wavered over the curbs there for Ben. And similarly, quicker in sector 1 as well for Nick Cassidy. So anything can happen here. Roman Rusinov pops up in 3rd now. So it's half a second is the gap 1st to 3rd. Ben Barnicoat improves, it's 0.027 of a second now. So it is 27 thousandths of a second is the gap. But what can Nick Cassidy do? 22.904 it was. He doesn't improve, so it's game on now with 2 minutes to go and 2 flying laps at each of these contenders to do what they can to either snatch the pole position from Nick Cassidy, or can Nick Cassidy leave these 3 cars positions as they were going into tomorrow's race. Ben Barnicoat is going to look to do what he can do. He improves again in sector 1. It's not ultimately the fastest sector 1.
But he doesn't need it to be. I mean, he's already hit 904 before.
The Aura 01, though, does not improve this time around in sector 1 or sector 2. So the man that looks as if he's most likely to snatch it here is Ben Barnicoat, and he goes purple in sector 2. Is the Dallara on course now for pole position and to close the gap to the number 26 car coming into the final race of the season? 9 points is the gap at the moment. 8 points it would be.
Nick Cassidy has had
He's not going to improve. He's lost his previous lap time and this lap time. Here comes Ben Barnicoat. Is this going to be a pole-setting lap? 22.904. It is 22.758. Barnicoat to the top. At the moment, that puts him with less than a minute to go. And Nick Foster dropping back a position. So it's 22.758. What can Rusinov do in what will be his final crack at this? He's not improving at the moment. We've got 35 seconds on the clock. I think Rusinov can come through and start a further lap. Nick Foster can be a threat and the other title contending car, but he's got to find over 8/10 of a second from Foster. Out of the hunt for pole is the Cateracina racing car. That will finish no higher than 4th. Matthias Besch pits from 6th. Guy Cosmo will be on pole position for the final race in this previous iteration of LMP2 machine in the LMP2 AM class. But with 3 seconds on the clock, it is Ben Barnicoat. Is he on his way to pole-setting glory here? I think he might be, you know. Watching as well what can happen with 36, what is going on with 36, his lap times. He's improving, but is he improving enough? I don't think he is. Ben Barnicoat, 22.758. He's watching his mirrors. I think he's coming into the pits. I think he's done. He is. He's bailing out that lap. I think he knows no one else is going to finishing. Roman Rusinov improves his time but cannot challenge.
Well,
Nick Foster 3rd. Nick Foster goes ahead of Roman Rusinov, so he grabs 3rd position for a 2nd and 3rd at the moment. It's going to be that way. There's no improvement for Nick Cassidy. The Thunderhead Carlin Dallara grabs pole position in the hands of Ben Barnicoat. A 1:22.758 is our new qualifying lap record at the Chang International Circuit in Buriram. A fine performance by them, and that closes the gap by what could be a vital single point. Well, well, well.
that is great stuff from Thunderhead Carlin, and there's so much joy whenever they do score some kind of result.
In the background there, that is Harry Tinkle on the left and the very tall Jack Manchester. They're delighted with that. This, though, is the 36 car having grabbed 3rd position and second row in the grid for Eurasia. There
Now,
you go.
Before we get down to talking to the Thunderhead Carlin team, we do have to talk about this Eurasia number 36 car. 3 second places. They have had a pretty good qualifying session, but now where do they go from here? Last ditch attempt. They got into the, they got 2nd and 3rd on the grid. What do they do?
Here you go. It's very simple. They got to win.
They have to, yeah.
The bad news for them is Carlin have got to win. Thunderhead Carlin Dallara have got to win. The lead car in the championship doesn't have to win, but really should be trying very hard to make sure they gather the best points gap they can. And the best way of doing that is to win, which means we've got 3 teams that a win could make absolutely all the difference. A win and 3rd for a win for either of the chasing cars and 3rd for the 26 will secure the title.
Wow.
So if the 26 car finishes 3rd or lower, they are at risk here. So that was cracking stuff from Ben Barnicoat. Excellent stuff all season from that trio aboard that car. And great to see the Dallara chassis competitive in a competitive field. Roman Rusinov pushed hard, couldn't really actually make the difference.
Well, that's my
next
next question there is, do you think that G-Drive Racing left it too late to get that car out? It was 5 minutes left in the session when it started.
I think it'd be interesting to hear from Roman Rusinov exactly what the strategy was there. Will he be disappointed with that? Of course he will. You want to be on pole position and win every race.
Yeah, and get the extra point.
But it didn't look like it was there for them today. The real pace was coming from Nick Cassidy and from Ben Barnicoat today. Look at the gap beyond them. It's 0.146 of a second between those two men. It's 7/10 to the rest of them. That is a big gap. And these two guys on form. That is a very happy Ben Barnicoat. He's got the finger up there signalising he's on pole position. He's going to be desperate, I'm sure, to speak to Nadia, who wouldn't be. But Ben Barnicoat will be happy, I'm sure, to tell his story. But good stuff again from Thunderhead Carlin. Jack Manchester and Harry Tinknell will be delighted with that. And it's Ben Barnicoat we've got, will be down any moment with us in the in the pits with Nadia in just a few minutes as we rush them down the pit lane
Yep.
towards the
Yep.
Dallara. Difficult when you've actually got the cars further apart in the pit lane to find out
It's
where
a
you should
long
have-
pit lane. It really
Nadia's
is.
only got very small legs. Let's go down to the pit lane now, though, with our pole position man for Thunderhead Carlin with the Dallara. It's Ben Barnicoat. He's with Nadia in pit lane right now.
Ben Barnicoat here with me, of course, and what a flying lap that was. A great start to the weekend.
Yeah, yeah, can't have asked for much more, really. It was quickest in free practice earlier today, and then qualifying came. Knew I had the car under me to do the job, thanks to the hard work of everyone at Thunderhead Carlin Racing, so it's a pleasure to get the lap out. It was a bit closer than I thought, to be honest. I thought I was a bit more comfortable than that heading into the session. Nick gave me a good run, but yeah, happy to come out on top.
Right, so, I mean, walk us through that, because we're just looking at numbers and just images on the screen, but did you know what was happening? How close was that gap you had to chase?
Yeah, so I mean, on the first set, I was struggling a little bit with understeer, and I ran a little bit wide in turn 8, and then my engineer said, oh, track limits, but that lap was good, because me and Nick, I think, had the same lap time, 22.90. So I went out again on the second set of tyres, had a bit more information about, what the lap time was, better understanding of the balance of the car, and yeah, the first lap was 22.9. I was like, oh no, need to find a little bit more here, and just dug deep and was able to get another 10th and a half out of it, and that was enough to get the job done. So again, massive thank you to everyone at Thunderhead Carlin Racing.
Fantastic. So that was Ben Barnicoat, the guy who's sitting at the front of the grid tomorrow with Thunderhead Carlin Racing. Of course, back to studio.
Now, what's fantastic there is a great interview from Ben Barnicoat, because he really did stress the team effort here. And, of course, he said that it was down to a new set of tyres.
Well, of course, we've seen this through the season, this strategy of the teams not wearing the tyres. They're trying to wear the sets evenly here. Ben Barnicoat, though, a quick word about him, really merging time for his career.
Yeah.
Not just here in LMP2, but in GT racing as well with McLaren. And, who knows what might happen for that brand in sports car racing moving forward. It's going to be excellent time to be a young man when you're at the top of your game, and it's great stuff. It's great to see him so happy.
I mean, that I said, we've seen some great qualifying sessions today. Rio Haryanto, of course, in GT, Nielsen Racing in LMP3, and then Thunderhead in LMP2. Between those three qualifying sessions, I can tell you, it's about a 10-second gap. 1:32 was the pole position time in GT. 1:22 was the pole position time in Thunderhead, with, of course, a 1:29 in LMP3. That's the kind of differential that you'll expect from all three of them. But all three qualifying sessions were really something to speak about. And I think that we've, of course, seen GT, we've seen LMP3. Let's now get back and have a look at that wonderful LMP2 AM qualifying session that we just witnessed.
Well, the 6 GT cars, all in the championship hunt, they streamed out for what we expected to be a really tight battle. Car Guy, though, stumbled at the start with a couple of track limits issues. The 51 car in the hands of new Ferrari factory driver Daniel Serra pushed hard, was in the mix, but ultimately had no answer to the pace of Tim Slade in the number 27 Hub Auto Corsa Ferrari. The Aussie Supercars star put it right in the mix, but the story of the day for many will be the emergence for a pole position, a first pole position in the Asian Le Mans Series for an Indonesian team, Rio Haryanto and the number 75 T2 Motorsports car. They were rightly delighted with that. Are they an emerging force? LMP3, 8 cars, 4 in the hunt, 2 very much in the hunt, but it was Norma's day today. 4 of the 8, Norma Chassis, the other 4 the Ligiers, and it was the Normas that really had the pace. The number 8 car in the mix to start with. David Drew looked like he might have an answer to the pole position conundrum, but ultimately slid back into 3rd. That was because coming up into 2nd position on the front row, Garrett Grist, the Canadian flag driver in the number 3 car for Nielsen Racing. That would be, well, the cherry on top of a great day for Nielsen Racing. 1-2 in the order, and that was thanks to a dominant performance ultimately for an emerging force in sports car racing. Young Scot Colin Noble absolutely bossed it for Nielsen Racing. It'll be a 1-2 for Norma, it'll be a 1-2 for Nielsen Racing tomorrow, 4 hours at Buriram in LMP3. Then we got into the dogfight we expected for LMP2 and with the LMP2 cars out there. It turned out to be two top dogs scrapping it out. The first of them, Kiwi Nick Cassidy, as Guy Cosmo put the 25 car for Rick Ware Racing on top in LMP2 AM. That was settled early on. All eyes then were on what's going to happen for the overall pole position. Matthias Besch tried to have a bit of say in that in the Enter Europol car. That wasn't going to quite work out. Cassidy just edged away a little in the #1 car in the Kiwi colours. But Ben Barnicoat was soon in the mix. And Barnicoat had his tail up. If there was going to be a dogfight, he was going to be the one with the sharpest teeth. The Dallara, the 45 car for Thunderhead and Carlin, would set the pole position in excellent fashion. That sets up a fantastic battle for the overall championship tomorrow. Don't miss it, because it's going to be a blinder. That's a happy, happy man and a happy team.
Well, that's really great stuff to see all three qualifying sessions together. I hope you did enjoy that. Now, of course, Graham, I'm going to have to put you on the spot and ask you, from these three qualifying sessions, who would your most valuable driver be today? Who put in the best performance in your view?
Well, all three pole position men in the major classes. Rio Haryanto, that's a breakthrough win for that team and for Indonesian Motorsport, make no mistake. Ben Barnicoat, I think, is an emerging talent overall in sports car racing.
Yep.
Delighted to see him with that pole position. And that was a cracking battle under pressure from an established star in Nick Cassidy. But for me, somehow, Colin Noble today, the way that he did that for the LMP3 class, to actually put a gap on some established talents in good cars from good teams, that was an extraordinary qualifying performance from Colin Noble. All three of those, and let's not forget Guy Cosmo as well. There's a bit of a battle, a bit of bragging rights on
I was just thinking that we cannot leave Guy Cosmo.
No, absolutely not.
It's only because Rick Ware Racing have already picked up the LMP2 AM title. Guy, if you're watching, we didn't leave you out.
Oh,
Fantastic
no.
performance there at all. And he's always watching. Now, looking, of course, at the beginning of this qualifying day, we had the championship permutations. 1 point has been added to each of these teams now. I'm going to put you even further on the spot now. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow as we kick into the 4 hours of Buriram for real?
Well, if you look at the classes, I mean, it's got to be said that it's very tight indeed with the top four. J-Lock, Car Guy, Huborto and Spitter Race are just 7 points apart in that battle. Remember, 7 points is the gap between first and second place. So that really could make a real difference. Who wins that race?
Right, yeah.
Will probably win the title. If any of those four cars, they absolutely will win the title. In LMP3, it really is now down in terms of competitive running, a battle between two cars. The 13 Inter Europol Ligier, not performing as we expected it to do today, and that rampant #2 Nielsen Racing car.
Yeah.
That is going to be a heck of a battle tomorrow.
Nielsen Racing team, you should say.
But the #2 car in particular in the title battle. In LMP2 and for the overall, well, there's a points gap. It's 8 points now for the 26 car, but oddly that sort of puts them under some pressure because they can't afford to give up those positions.
Yeah.
And I think Thunderhead by Carlin Racing will be thoroughly enjoying that position. They know they've got to get by the 26 car and run away with this. They're going to start ahead. They're going to be looking to consolidate that position. I think the starting drivers list tomorrow might be pretty interesting, and I wonder what they're going to do about this one.
Well, we were talking, of course, about how important driver combinations are, and I hope that all of this stuff doesn't actually mean that each of these teams gets a little bit too enthusiastic and takes themselves out of the running. All this stuff is going to be happening tomorrow, of course, at the 4 hours of Buriram, and you absolutely have to watch all four of the championships. For us, up in the commentary box, we're ready for tomorrow. We hope you are. Let's get back down to Nadia, and we'll see you tomorrow.
And with that wrap up of the qualifying session, of course, we are one step closer to the big race, the last race of the season finale here in Buriram, Thailand. So we are getting excited. We can already feel the heat from qualifying session here today. Rio Haryanto's first pole for GT. And we also saw Nick Cassidy's pole position being taken away by Ben Barnicoat's flying lap in that Thunderhead Carlin racing car. So we cannot wait for tomorrow. So make sure you guys join us as we go live all over the world, free, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and on our website. So the show starts at 11:15 a.m. and flag off is at 11:45 a.m. Of course, we will all be here with you. So till then, we'll see you tomorrow for 4 hours of Buriram. Thank you for watching.